What up, y'all? Welcome to episode 102 of Sucio Sports. Um, man, it's been a pretty interesting week. Um, it's been cool, been kind of crazy. Life be life, but it is what it is. And you move on. But how everybody out there doing? Y'all all right? Y'all good? Cool. It's getting hot in here. 102 degrees. Man, you tripping, bro. It was a little chilly last night, and I had on my hoodie when I was doing Gresh Unleashed. And today it wasn't that hot, so I just put on my t-shirt. But yeah, man, this weather been tripping though lately. I'm not gonna lie, this weather really been acting a fool. Cause I done seen it like go from I've been pump faking on cooking gumbo. I finally like cut up all my sausage and everything yesterday. I separated the chicken. I got to defrost the chicken and cut it up though. But I got some shrimp in the freezer. I think I'm gonna buy some more because I don't think I have enough. I may just use I don't know, man. Whatever. It depends. But yeah, I'm gonna probably make gumbo sometime soon. I know I gotta make a cake this weekend. Man, I made some cookies last night, bro. Listening to my daughter again, putting less flour in there, and this time they did not come out the same. I think I put too little flour in there. Like, if anybody in Houston, I don't know the name of the place, but it used to be this cookie spot in Sharpstown Mall that used to have like these really like flat, kind of crunchy, kind of chewy kind of cookies or whatever. Um, it was something like that, right? And that's kind of how they came out. They still fire though, cause I did the chocolate chip, but I put the marshmallow bits in it this time. But I think I gotta make some more when I put some more flour in it. He said he done had gumbo for lunch the last couple of days, bruh. Like shit be crazy, bruh. Shit be crazy. Like I was gonna fix something, then I decided not to, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. And then it got warm again. I'm like, nah, I ain't about to do all this warm outside. So got some new folks in here. Hello, how's it going? How's it going? Yeah, it's going good. It's going good. Peace to y'all. Love is in the chat. My gumbo came from Captain Tim. Now see, Captain Tom. Okay. I don't know, man. It just depends, bro. It really just depends. Like, cause I don't trust everybody gumbo. You know what I'm saying? I really don't trust everybody gumbo. What's up, Gina Jordan? My name is right down there, Jermaine. Yeah, I don't trust everybody gumbo, bro. But nah, man. I'm gonna make some though. Definitely gonna make some. But man, this past week of NFL games was kind of wild. We saw 44-year-old Philip Rivers start for the first time in 5 years and almost lead the Colts to a victory. That was an insane game. I couldn't believe like that game had like I couldn't believe it had gotten that far. Like I did not think that he would lead the team to. It was insane that they were actually up 13-9 heading into the fourth quarter. So that was kind of wild. But they ended up losing 18-16. So that was one of the games I had down. Also had the Chargers Chiefs because I wanted to keep an eye on that game as far as that division is concerned. Um, Chargers end up holding on to win 16-13, and the Chiefs end up losing Patrick Mahomes with a torn ACL. Not only did they get eliminated from playoff contention after some other things went on that day after their loss, but they also lost their franchise quarterback. So that sucks. But that was another good dogfight of a game. Both defenses came to play, and there will be officially a new winner of the AFC West this year. The other game I had was Bills Pats, which didn't disappoint because the Patriots were up 21-0. It looked like they had the Bills on the ropes early on in the second quarter. And then the Bills erased that deficit, took the lead, and was like, nah, we out of here. So Patriots still got a little bit of fight left in them, holding off the Bills with a one game lead, I believe, or half game lead, or whatever it is in the AFC East. So that's looking pretty stout standing. Um, Keys had Bills pass Chargers Chiefs also same as me. But his other game for this past week to watch was that Ravens Bengals game, which ended up being a good game. Well, no, it wasn't because I forgot that was the one where it was a freaking blowout, man. Their defense finally stepped up, and looks like Lamar Jackson was not practicing again today, but that's been his thing for like the last few weeks. Not practicing on Wednesday and then practicing Thursday, Friday. So we shall see going into next week. But yeah, Keys had Chargers, Chiefs, and Bills Pats just like I did, and his other game was Ravens Bengals, which turned out to be a blowout. I thought it was gonna be a good game also, but mhm. Other good games we had this week. Well, Packers Broncos, that was another game that I wanted to keep an eye on, and Lions Rams. Both of those were one score games with a lot of playoff implications in place, especially with the Lions and the Rams being in the NFC, and the Lions like going on the slide lately, as opposed to as opposed to what you call it, like how they started off the season. Like, because I thought the Lions were going to start off the season nice, and I thought they were going to be, but the injury bug has hit that team again, and I mean it's ridiculous what those guys have gone through. Yeah, they started the season 5-2, and now they're 8-6. So they kind of fallen off a little bit. Believe in Bills Mafia. Hey, bro, the Bills they got what it takes. It's just that they never seem to put it all together. Is my biggest thing with the Bills, and now they don't have the Chiefs standing in their way. They came back and beat the Ravens first game of the season. So it's like you've been able to beat them. The Chiefs are not in your way. Like the Broncos and the Patriots are the only two teams in your way, and those two teams are younger teams who, with this iteration of players, haven't been to the playoffs, haven't done much, and just the sheer thought of one of those two teams making it all the way to the Super Bowl is still kind of odd, even though they're both leading the AFC with their inexperience, not just at their quarterback positions with Bo Nix for the Broncos and Drake May for the Patriots, but just being able to lock in and overcome some of the things you have to do when it comes to be playoff time that guys like Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, have been trying to do and trying to overcome in the playoffs these last few years. So it's going to be interesting to see these AFC playoffs the way it's looking. As of right now, playoff picture looks like Ravens are still eligible to win their division. I don't think they're going to make the wild card because they're 2 games behind the Texans, and the Texans have the tiebreak over them. The Colts, I'm just not believing in Paw Rivers. I don't think he's going to be able to do enough to overtake the Texans, and I definitely don't think they're going to do anything with the Jags as far as winning that division is concerned. Um, so it really is going to come down to the Ravens and the Steelers who's going to win the AFC North. Because I don't believe in the Colts to make the playoffs. I don't think the Texans are going to fall off, and I think the Colts are going to take a step back, especially with the injury news with Daniel Jones and them having to rely on Riley Leonard or Phillip Rivers, that quarterback. Um, yeah, I just don't see it, man. I really don't see it. I really don't see it. So I think it's going to come down to whoever wins the AFC North, they'll get that spot. And I think the Texans and the Bills and the Chargers are going to run away with those 3 wildcard spots. So AFC picture is pretty much cleared up. Over in the NFC, um, oddly enough, the Packers are one of the teams that I thought was going to challenge for the NFC crown. They're actually in the last wild card spot. The Detroit Lions are actually 1 game out. They're another team I thought was could challenge for the NFC crown. And now, we've got Tampa leading the NFC South at 7-7, guaranteed to get a home playoff game. And then you got teams like Seattle at 11-3, San Francisco at 10-4, and Green Bay at 9-4, the 3 wild cards in the NFC. Winner of the NFC East. Currently, the Eagles are up with a 9-5 record, and then the Cowboys are behind them, 6-7-1. I do not think that the Cowboys have enough to chase the Eagles down and win that division this year. Their only hope is that one of those teams at the bottom of the NFC falls out. They have to win all of the rest of their games and pray that teams like Detroit and Carolina and Green Bay fall off the face of the planet. So we shall see. But yeah, man, it's getting down to the nitty gritty. You know what I'm saying? It's really getting down to it. Um, with the games coming up this coming week, though, you say I need the Broncos to lose so I get rid of this damn Aflac. That's what you get for making stupid bets, dog. That's what you get for making stupid bets. But this coming week though, shit, the game tomorrow night is a good one with the Rams and the Seahawks. Um, yeah, I'm gonna definitely have to put that one down as one of my games because also the Rams are dealing with Devontae Adams' injury, and he may not be able to play tomorrow night. They're gonna play it by ear, and I guess he's gonna kind of work it out before the game and see how it goes. So playing after you get hurt in a game on a short week on a Thursday night, that's always gonna be tough. But especially when these two teams are, you know what I'm saying, when they're kind of locked in, and the Rams are up by a game over the Seahawks, or they're virtually tied, but they have the head-to-head win so far. So it's gonna be interesting, man, to see what happens with those teams. But that's definitely one of my games to watch for this coming week. My other game to watch this coming week is gonna be on Saturday night's matchup with the Packers and the Bears, because that's gonna go a long way in determining who's gonna win that NFC North. So that game is definitely gonna be interesting to see if Caleb Williams and that offense can bring it because that defense has been solid. But yeah, they're like a half game behind the Packers are a half game behind the Bears basically because they have a tie. Crazy ass tie. Let me see. Oh, they don't have the games behind, but yeah, they're basically like percentage points behind them simply because they have that tie with the Cowboys. Um, Other game I want to watch or game that I think could be good or interesting this coming week. Steelers, Steelers, Lions. Because when you look at the playoff standings, both of those teams are in such a weird predicament where the Steelers have to win to keep maintaining their grip on the NFC North lead. The Ravens are hot on their heels because they're starting to pick back up from where they started. I believe they started the season like 1-5 or whatever. Now they're 7-7, so they're getting themselves together. Which they're getting themselves together at the right time. Now, the thing with the Lions is the Lions they still have an outside shot at trying to win that NFC North, but because they've just fallen off so bad, man, I think their only hope is to pray that Chicago beats Green Bay and they keep winning and Green Bay keeps backsliding so that way they can like backdoor and get that last playoff spot. But yeah, that's going to be an interesting game because, like I said, both teams are fighting for a playoff spot. The Steelers are trying to fight to win their division, and the Lions are trying to fight to stay in the hunt. So I think those are going to be my three games to watch. Rams, Seahawks, Packers, Bears, and Steelers, Lions are going to be my three games to watch for this upcoming weekend. But with these playoff races coming down to it, there's only the Rams have clinched, and so outside of the seven that are in the playoff, there are three more still eligible to make the playoffs in the NFC. Number 8 Lions, number 9 Panthers, and number 10 Cowboys. Same thing. Well, not the same. Well, there's only two teams outside the playoff seven in the AFC still eligible: the Colts and the Ravens. And like I said earlier, the Colts with Daniel Jones getting hurt and being out for the season, I do not see them making a run to make the playoffs. Steelers are fool's gold. They see. Here's the thing: with TJ Watt going down now and not knowing how long he's going to be out, that's going to make it even harder for that defense to hold up for that offense. And the Ravens, like I said, are coming along at the right time. So that's going to make it real difficult. Um, that's going to make it real difficult for the Steelers. So we're going to keep an eye on that. But the Steelers have enough talent in order to pull this off. They just have to play more consistently on offense and on defense. But yeah, man. But all of those games have playoff race or division race implications, so that's why I'm looking at those. Um, the first two Rams, Seahawks, and Packers, Bears have direct division race implications, but they also have playoff positioning implications, and that Steelers Lions matchup definitely has playoff implications on it for both teams, even though they're in separate conferences. Um, but I imagine if the Cowboys lose this weekend, they're going to be eliminated. So they got to hope for a victory this week. But yeah, man, the season is coming winding down. Other big news coming out of the NFL: the Dolphins decided to bench Tua, and they're in a bit of a predicament because if they decide to release him this offseason, they'll have something like a 90-something million-dollar cap hit. Um, that's going to be spread out over 2 seasons, basically. So prayers up to them if they decide to do that because they're not in the same position that the Broncos were in when they absorbed that 85 million cap hit from Russell Wilson. The Broncos were in a position where they had a lot of young talent and that defense was building. They just needed to reconstruct the offense. Sean Payton found them a trigger man. They got some more weapons in there and they kept retooling that defense. And now that defense is one of the most outstanding units in the league. And that offense is running, and clicking. And they're finding ways to win games, either after being down or, having a team come back on them and them having to find a way to keep a lead. So it's always fun when you see young teams like that where they can actually like maintain a certain level of play, a high level of play throughout their season, and that they're growing and learning all together. Uh, who would be the most expensive practice squad? Nah, he ain't gonna be on nobody practice squad, bro. He gonna be a backup if anything. I don't think nobody's gonna pay him to be a starter, but I definitely think somebody's gonna pay him to be a backup because, like, the thing is, man, when Tyreek Hill went down, that took out one of their main cogs of their offense, and a lot of their offense is predicated. And if you think about it, when you have a weapon like a Tyreek Hill, he opens up so much for everybody else. Jalen Waddle is nice, but Jalen Waddle doesn't have the completeness and that game breaking, like, scare the shit out of a defense and make them back up and change their coverages like Tyreek Hill has. When you put that kind of a weapon on the field, it changes the way a defense plays. They have to pay attention to him. But what the Dolphins have managed to do is become a much better running team, especially with Devon A. Chain toting the rock. And you would look at him and think like, man, how is a 180 or so, 190 pound, smallish kind of running back, a speed guy, been such a good rusher for them? And it's because the way Mike McDaniel schemes those running plays and the way they have motion, double motion, pulling guards, pulling tackles. I mean, just, crackback block, like just the way they scheme it and the way they always make sure they get him in a nice, schemed run play, open up lanes for him to get in there and use his speed and athleticism. But yeah, man, it's gonna be interesting to see what Quinn Ewers is able to do with the opportunity to start, and how that changes and shapes what the Dolphins' off-season plans may be. My thing is if I'm the Dolphins and I know I'm gonna be on the hook for that much of a cap hit, and Mike McDaniel's on the hot seat. So now you're looking at it like, make it sound like McDaniel's coming back. He might be, because why would you bring in a new coach, have to keep that same quarterback, and think that the results are going to be any different? I mean, who knows? The new coach he may not, but you kind of saddlebagging that new coach with the old regime's problem. That's not really fair to the new coach. You want to let him come in and start clean. So the real question is, does the owner trust the GM? Because if the owner trusts the GM, it's like, hey, listen, I want to get rid of this coach. I want to get rid of this quarterback. If we get rid of this quarterback, we got a problem. If we bring in a new coach, but we keep this quarterback, we still got a problem. But then now I got to figure out, can this guy work with this guy? And then if we realize he can't, well, then now I got to get rid of this quarterback, and then still got to go back to square one. So it's like they're in a real predicament. Ideally, it would be ideal for them if McDaniels could figure out a way to make it work with Tua. Ideally. Cap wise, that would help him out as well. Because absorbing that kind of cap hit over 2 seasons and your team isn't really built for that, that means you're going to have two pretty shitty seasons, because a large portion of your cap over these next couple years is going to be taken up by that dead cap space from cutting Tua. And if you're not already like having a strong and dominant defense like the Broncos had, with some players and some things in place already, even on the offensive side of the ball, you're not ready for that. And the Dolphins do not have that. They were already, like with Tyreek Hill, there was rumors about him wanting out, them wanting to get rid of him and everything else, before the season even started. Of course, that talk subsided and they reconciled, and everything seemed like it was good to go until he had that season-ending injury. And then that was it. You need to have the best draft ever. Bro, you would literally have to hit on every single pick you made. Your first, second, and third rounders need to be starters, and everybody after that needs to be at least a rotational player and a contributor, a solid contributor. And you would need to do that 2 drafts in a row, because you're not going to be able to spend a whole lot of money on free agents. So you would literally have to have two, almost three perfect drafts in a row in order to like fill in the empty spots on your roster. I don't know, man. I just think that the only way they could survive that is trading pieces, but then you're trading pieces for draft picks, and then now what do you do? And if you're gonna do a total tear down and rebuild, you might as well get rid of McDaniels, cut Tua, trade every piece that you can for draft picks, and start all the way fresh. If you're gonna do it, but here again in lies the problem where you have a quarterback that you give franchise quarterback money to that turns out not to be a franchise quarterback. And that's the hardest part about teams that are in that quarterback purgatory, so to speak, when they have a decent quarterback, but they're not sure if that person is the franchise guy moving forward. That's where you walk into a lot of issues and problems. And this is why, like, I mess with my friends who are Cowboys fans because some of them hate Dak and some of them don't mind Dak. Some of them love Dak. It's like a hodgepodge. Like there's hot, warm, cold when it comes to Dak in the Cowboy fan base. And the ones that I see who like and appreciate Dak, they don't think he's the best quarterback out there. They just think that he's done good enough to bring the team, to the playoffs and stuff. And they think that he can go further. He just needs more things around him. Then there are those who totally do not believe in him whatsoever, think he's worse. He should have never got paid, should never got paid again. Um, and it just whatever. And it's like, you can't always think like that because okay, what's the alternative? How do you get another franchise guy in? Your highest probability of finding a franchise quarterback is drafting really high in the draft and getting a high value prospect and bringing him in. That's how most teams end up getting a franchise quarterback. You're not gonna find them fourth, fifth, sixth round, and you're not gonna trade for him for another team and think that you're gonna stumble upon a diamond in the rough or something like that. That rarely happens. Yeah, but so and so. Yeah, but so and so probably did that, and how well did it work out for them? And how often do you see that happen? So you can't say like that's a good excuse. People like that when they say things to me like that. Well, this happened or this happened. I always ask them, "Do you gamble? And if so, can you show me your winnings or losses? Because I want to see. Because it sounds like you're willing to take unnecessary risks. And people like that, I love to bet against because they'll take a bet that they should never take because they think, well, it happened before, it could happen again. When you start making them put their money where their mouth is, that's when those kind of people tend to shut up. We make the decaders sit at the kids' table. Hey man, every fan base has something like that going on. You know what I'm saying? Every fan base has something like that going on. But the funniest thing about it is sometimes you get somebody decent, sometimes you don't. It really just depends. So, but what I have to say to that is, I never tell people, what you should or shouldn't do. I just present the facts and the argument the way I see it. And the way I see it is they didn't really have a choice. They never drafted high enough to say we're drafting top five, we can pick a franchise guy. And if you trade all these draft picks for this rookie and he doesn't turn out great, well, then you're gonna be pissed that you trade all those draft picks for him and he didn't turn out to be anything. Only team I've seen fade that in the last few years has been the 49ers. So it's just one of those things, man, where I tell people like, hey, listen, you really need to like reconsider your thought process because you simply you can't you can't rely on just finding a guy. Or we'll draft somebody. Oh, we can just do this. You can't just do this or just do that. It doesn't happen. A lot of the time, stuff NFL fans say are so unrealistic, and it's simply because they don't have a realistic outlook or approach to their logic when they're talking about their team because their fan colored glasses are blocking their vision, and they have you know what's it called? They have team colored hearing aids where they can't hear anything but good stuff about their team. And to people like that, I say, God bless you because you're going to walk around with your head in the sand all your life, not wanting to see or hear anything negative about your team instead of being a little bit more realistic. And I get it. Fans are fans for a reason, and the term is short for fanatical. And I understand that. And I get that. But at the same time, it's like, don't get mad at me when I'm pointing out the obvious and you rather live in fantasy land. Okay, cool. You go live in fantasy land. I'm going to live in reality. So it's like they say, shit in one hand and wish in the other one, see which one get full first. So there you have it, Trisha for kids. But another interesting tidbit is seeing what the Cardinals will do with Kyler Murray coming up this year because he's another quarterback who may need to be rehomed due to things wearing thin with his team. Um, Outside of that, man, I don't think there's any other quarterbacks who may be on. Kirk Cousins uh, may be on the move as well. Depends on how Michael Penix's knee is coming along in the offseason. Falcons may want to keep him around for another year just for insurance purposes. But yeah, man, those are the only quarterbacks that I could see like on the move or maybe going somewhere may need to be rehomed that might be able to help somebody or something. Um, Yeah, man, that's about all I got for the NFL right now. It's just really coming down to the end of the season and seeing what teams are going to have which spots in the playoffs because we pretty much have the playoff picture set. There's only a handful of teams vying for the last couple of playoff spots. There's only a couple of teams really that can logically, like realistically, make it. So we'll just have to see about that. Um, Speaking of, excuse me, Dak Prescott is actually leading the league in passing right now. He's got 200 or so yards over Matthew Stafford. So impressive, impressive from Dakota Rain. Also impressive is that Jordan Brooks from the Miami Dolphins. They have 3 games left in their season. He already has 155 tackles. That is ridiculous. I need y'all to understand that this man is averaging over 10 tackles a game. Like that is unheard of. 11 tackles a game. My bad. That is ridiculous. The amount of tackles that he has in this season. But just some things that's out there. Still waiting to see if Miles Garrett will get a couple more sacks and break the NFL sack record. I think he'll get that because they have 3 games left. I think he only needs 1.5 sacks or 2 sacks, 1.5 or 2 sacks in his next 3 games. So I think he'll go ahead and get that and break that record. Um, Puka Nakua got hurt, so he can't chase that receiving yards record. And Jackson Smith and Jigba would need like 400 and something yards over his last 3 games. So it's still within reach for him. He would just have to really like ball out a couple of those games to make it a little bit easier on him. But yeah, man, it's been a fun season to watch some football this year. I'm not gonna lie. It's been a real fun season to watch some football this year. Um, I think the scariest team heading into the playoffs right now is going to be the Texans simply because of Will Anderson Jr. and Daniil Hunter, those 2 defensive ends. Make that pass rush unbelievable. I also think that their defensive backs are really good. Their whole defense is just really fast, and they get to the ball quickly. Like they have something to do. Like they got somewhere to go, somewhere to be. So that's always good. Another scary team, I think, in that AFC is going to be the two teams at the top, the Broncos and the Patriots, because they're teams that haven't been there with this iteration of the teams that they have right now and the quarterbacks that they have. But they're such good overall teams, and they have solid coaches who have been there and or done that as a coach and or a player. So when you got solid leadership, good quarterback play, and good overall, teams, defense, and offense, then yes, you can make some noise in the playoffs, even though you're young and inexperienced. So I'm gonna love to keep an eye on that going down the stretch. Also in the NFC is so wide open because I'll be honest with you, I can see the Packers as the 7th seed right now going to the Super Bowl. I could see the 49ers possibly making a run. I'm not sure. They've had a ton of injuries. I don't know if they can carry it that far. I can see the Seahawks definitely making a run. I don't see Tampa making a run. Of course, I can see the Eagles. I can see the Bears are the one team. They're the 2 seed right now in the NFC, but they make me nervous. Could I see the Bears in the Super Bowl or NFC Championship? Hmm. I don't know. I don't know. The Bears may be one and done in the playoffs, especially if they have to go against the Packers. I don't know, man. It's gonna be interesting to see. I could definitely see the Rams making it. So Rams, Eagles, Seahawks, 49ers, iffy, definitely Packers. I could see those teams definitely making a run. In the AFC, like I said, the Texans, of course, the Bills, of course, I talked about them earlier as well. I think they can definitely make it. The Chargers, I don't think so because I think eventually that the offensive line injuries are going to come home to roost either in the run game or the pass game, and it's going to cost them. The Steelers, like Dallas said earlier, they're fool's goal. I don't believe in them making a run. They have way too many injuries and just not enough overall talent and consistency. The Jags are surprising. The Jags may be that team. The Jags are another team where I feel the same way about them, the same way I feel about the Bears. I'm kind of nervous about them moving forward in the playoffs, and I'm not sure how they're going to do. But they're the number 3 seed in the AFC, so we got to see what they're going to do. They're 10-4 for a reason, so we just got to wait it out and see. But yeah, man, the NFL has definitely been coming down to it. Over in the NBA, shout out to the Knicks, man, for winning the Emirates Cup. Shout out to the Knicks for winning the cup. Um, they're not going to raise a banner. They just had their little trophy presentation and celebration yesterday and called it a day. So we shall see. They're up. They're still at hanging tight. Number 2 in the Eastern Conference behind the Pistons. They're 2.5 games behind the Pistons now. Pistons have kind of Knicks have kind of taken it up a notch, and Pistons kind of cooled off after they had that long win streak. But you still got the Raptors hanging around at the 3 spot, the Celtics at the 4 spot, Magic at the 5 spot, Sixers at the 6 spot. I know Keys has been real big on the Sixers, especially because Paul George has come back. You got the Cavs at 7, Hawks at 8, Heat at 9, and the Bucks at 10. And the craziest thing about seeing Milwaukee at 10 is seeing the teams that's ahead of them that they should be better than, especially the Heat and the Hawks. Cavs, I thought the Cavs would be a little bit better this year considering how good they were last year. But they've had injury bug hit them in the offseason. 76ers are kind of definitely a surprise still for me hanging on to that 6th spot in the East. The Magic, I had a feeling the Magic would be good because those guys have assembled a nice little squad down there, and adding Desmond Bain gave them the outside shooting that they so desperately missed. The Celtics, I'm a little surprised the Celtics are that good, but Jalen Brown is stepping up and proving that he's a definitely a prime time player, and he's got some talent around him still, even though Jason Tatum is out. And the Raptors, they've been a team that's been on the rise the last few years, and they're starting to, finally put it together. So it's good to see them doing good as well. Over in the West, OKC is really going to make a run at uh, 73 wins. They're really going to make a run at that record because that team is very young. They're very good, and Jalen Williams is getting his legs under him after coming back from injury. So They were already the best team in the league, and then you added one of their best players back into that lineup. Like, come on, man, you gotta hats off to them. Uh, the Nuggets are in the two spot, 4.5 behind the Thunder. Lakers are now in the third spot, 5.5 back. Spurs at 4, Rockets at 5, T Wolves at 6, Phoenix at 7, Golden State at 8, Memphis at 9, and Jazz holding it down at the 10th spot. The Jazz better be careful because they're only a half game ahead of the Trailblazers and a game ahead of the Mavericks for that 10th spot, that last play-in spot. So they better be careful. Super surprised that Phoenix, with the trade and everything, like they've still maintained, relevancy. Um, the T Wolves at 6, I thought that they would be a little bit better because I'm an Ant believer. I love Ant. I think he's one of the best players in the game, one of the faces of the league right now. The Rockets at 5, I'm loving what they're doing offensively. They're very efficient. Then they've maintained their defense some. Spurs are an unbelievably good team, and they're only going to get better once all those guys get healthy. They've had Wemby miss some games. De'Aaron Fox recently came back from injury, so once their team and Wemby just came back as well. Once those guys get healthy and get their chemistry, I believe they'll be making a run. And the Lakers better be careful because they're now virtual tie with San Antonio in that 3-4 spot. So, to watch out. And the Nuggets have reminded everybody that they're still the Nuggets, that they're still one of the best teams in the league as well. So, this we're still early on into the season. Like most people say, the NBA doesn't really start until Christmas, right after Christmas. That's when the real season like really kicks into gear. Which is always fun to watch the Christmas Day games because they're a showcase for the league. But I'm just loving the way the league has been playing this year with everybody basically chasing OKC. And it's basically OKC, and then there's everybody else down there. That's basically what I've been seeing. Speaking of the Cavs, man, they're getting blown out right now by the Bulls. Bulls up 16. The only other game on TV tonight is Memphis up 101-98 right now with 3:37 left in that game over the T Wolves. So that one is going to have a little bit of playoff implication as the Memphis Grizzlies sit at 9 and the T Wolves sit at the 6th spot. T Wolves got a 3-game lead over the Suns for that 7th spot. So they're okay. They can fade this loss, but you don't want to drop too many of these games, especially with teams in the Western Conference. And as far as Cleveland's concerned, Cleveland's about to lose that game definitely to Chicago. Um, they're literally they're a game out of the 3 spot, even though they're in the 7th spot, and they only have a half game lead over the team in the 9th spot. That's how close most of the East is. Between 3 and 9 is separated by a game and a half. I knew it was something else about the NBA that I wanted to make sure I talked about when I talked about the standings, and I figured if I stared at the screen long enough, I would remember it. But yeah, man, the East is like really compact between 3 and 9. There's a game and a half separating everybody, and then it's just and you got we talking about Toronto, Boston, Orlando, Philly, Cleveland, Atlanta, and Miami. The most interesting thing is some of these teams, especially the Knicks at 2 for the main team, but some of these teams were rumored to want to make a push at Giannis if Giannis does want a separation from the Milwaukee Bucks. I heard the Heat. I've heard the Knicks. Uh, Other teams may have interesting trade packages to put together, so on and so forth. But it's gonna be one of those things where I think the Bucks are gonna try to find him a spot that he wants to go. I don't think they're just gonna trade him anywhere. I think they're gonna try to do right by Giannis and try to get as much as they can in return as well. So I think that if they do end up going through with this separation, I think that you know both the team and the player are going to do what they can to try to help one another out, which only makes sense because he's been their best player in franchise history going back to like Lou Alcindor when he teamed up with Oscar Robertson and bought that franchise a championship back in the early '70s. So that team has had really good players, but that team hasn't had like an iconic player since then, in my opinion. Um, I mean, you could talk about the Sidney Moncriefs and the this and the that, or whoever else you want to bring up, but let's be real. Like when we talk about superstar status, when was the last time the Bucks had a player that was just like superstar status? Not just an all-star, superstar status. Ray Allen, all-star. Glenn Robinson, all-star. Ben Baker, all-star. But those guys weren't like superstars like Giannis. So we shall see. But that's always going to be something that's going to be interesting to watch leading up to the trade deadline is where some players go, where some players decide to go, especially like superstars like Giannis who could definitely shift not only playoff potential playoff outcomes, but potential championship outcomes. Um, so that's definitely going to be something to look at. We got the playoff games coming up this weekend in college football. Okay, so this weekend we got Friday we got Oklahoma and Bama, and then Saturday we got James Madison and Oregon, Tulane and Ole Miss, and Miami at A&M. So those are going to be some good games to watch. I think the best games, like me and Keys have talked about it already, is going to be Miami A&M and Alabama Oklahoma. Because Oklahoma will try to be the first team to beat Alabama twice in one season in forever. A&M is going to host Miami. That's going to be an 11 o'clock kickoff my time, 12 o'clock Eastern. Miami traveling west with an 11 a.m. kickoff. Shouldn't mess with your body clock too much because it's only one time zone over from the east to the central. However, it could fuck with them a little bit, but who knows? We'll see. Tulane and Ole Miss. I really, really want Tulane to have a good showing. I don't think that they'll win this game. I just want them to look good because I used to go there and I have friends that are alumni from there. So I want them to do good. Plus they uptown, so that's home, so on and so forth. No need to explain. As far as James Madison, Oregon, I think that James Madison will make that game interesting for the first like quarter or so, and then Oregon's talent will take over. But I'm definitely hoping that Tulane and James Madison show up, show out, and shock the shit out of everybody. Uh, they may not have upset wins, but I would like to see them at least do something decent. As far as the bowl games are concerned, let me go to the schedule right quick. There it goes. Matchups that I'm interested to see this week. Where is it? Memphis, NC State in the what is it? That's the Gasparilla Bowl. Yeah, that one. Definitely looking forward to that one. Saturday is all the playoff games. Monday, Washington State, USA. No, not really. I don't think it's another bowl game. I'm really, really like looking forward to until sometime like late next week. I think. Yeah, Penn State and Clemson is going to be interesting to watch at Yankee Stadium, just because number one, it's at Yankee Stadium. Number two, I want to see what those two teams who had higher expectations and then kind of fell off this year are going to do against each other. And the rest of the games, I have to check the draft prospect list again and run it across these bowl games to see who we got coming out or who could potentially be coming out and what they look like and everything. I don't trust Oregon. No, bro. Oregon has Dante Moore at quarterback. He's one of the top prospects at the quarterback position coming up in this coming draft. Some people have him as their number one overall quarterback prospect. Some people have him definitely top three. But he's an interesting kid. He's kind of slight, kind of reminds you a little bit of Jaden Daniels. But definitely gonna be interested in seeing what Oregon can do and what Dante Moore can put on film to show, his worth and his wares leading up to the draft and whatnot. As far as men's college basketball is concerned, Nebraska with the biggest jump in the polls, up 8 spots in the AP and up 7 spots in the coaches poll. Illinois took a tumble; they're down 5 spots, and Alabama's down 4 spots. Those were your teams, the biggest movers in the polls as far as from last week to this week. Oh, Florida! I forgot Florida. I think Florida lost twice this past week. That's why they dropped 5 spots. And I think Illinois dropped a bad game or something like that. That's why they dropped 4 spots. And Nebraska is finally showing up in the polls. They're shooting up the rankings. They're undefeated still. So keep an eye on that undefeated Nebraska team so far. As you get in the conference play, though, this is the time of the season when you start getting into conference play into December, January, February. When you get into conference play, that's when you really see water find its level because now you're going up against schools and teams that you see often. You know them, they know you. You know their tendencies. The staffs know each other and whatnot. That's when you really start to see like, okay, you know, who's really who and what's really what as far as these teams are concerned. But normally college basketball really kicks in to me in January. That's when it really kicks in when the kids get back to school and classes are back underway, conference schedule is fully underway for everybody. That's when I really like to see college basketball get like juicy. Over on the women's side, um, biggest riser was Louisville up 6 spots to number 16 in the polls. Carolina dropped 6 spots in the polls. Biggest faller right there. Top 7 remain unchanged over on the women's side, and the top 6 remain changed on the men's side. If you look over at the AP, the top 11 in the AP stay the same. For some reason, they flip flop Gonzaga and Houston in the AP. Other than that, the top 11 would have stayed the same over there as well. But yeah, like I said, college basketball, the time that it really kicks off to me is in January. That's when I really like lock in and like to pay attention to it because those conference games are dogfights. So we'll continue to see what's going on over there. But yeah, the ladies are getting it in. UConn's still number one, Texas still number two, South Carolina still number three. Over there on the ladies side, and on the men's side, now see this is what I was trying to tell House. Duke did get some votes for number one again this week. Uh, but the thing was like he was thinking because they beat number, I believe it was number 6 or 7 at the time, Michigan State on the road by 6. He thought that they should be number one, and I was like, nah, bro. Like they got 2 other teams ranked ahead of them. One of them playing another ranked team. If those 2 teams win, those 2 teams should get the nod. And Michigan and Arizona ended up blowing people out, so they secured their spot. So, but we will see. Like it's going to be a dogfight going down to the end. I can't really say one team on the men's side is like leading the pack or like this is far and away like the top contender to win a tournament this year. I do see that there's a bunch of teams that are capable of doing. As far as the women's side is concerned, of course, UConn is always going to be up there. Texas keeps a solid team, and South Carolina is going to be there. But that UCLA team is something to watch out for as well. But there's a few teams over there that I definitely watch out for. Um, so you may have 1 or 2 teams like that look really dominant on the women's side every year, but all it takes is for those teams to have one bad game because in the tournament is one and done. So if they have an off night or get into foul trouble or they can't hit shots or turn the ball over, whatever it is, you can find yourself out of the tournament. So it's gonna be good to watch them and see how that goes. Coming up this weekend, I want to say we got the Anthony Joshua Jake Paul fight. I want to call it more than that, but I just don't see it. I just really I don't know, man. I am I gonna watch it? Yeah, definitely gonna be tuned in. Do I think it's gonna be like some like great masterpiece? Hell no. It's gonna look like a glorified exhibition, and then Anthony Joshua should just knock Jake Paul out. But it is what it is. I saw Tyson Fury had some interesting words for Anthony Joshua, calling him all kind of names because he's choosing to fight Jake Paul. But hey, that man cashing a check. He like, look, I done got knocked out a couple of times in my last few fights. I might as well get this bread while this bread is there to get. So it is what it is. I mean, this is where we are in boxing today, and this is why the promoters need to take a step back and allow the governing bodies to step in and govern and actually do something with the sport. And if the governing bodies and the promoters can somehow find a way to work together, I mean, shit. Bloods and Crips called peace at one time. The Hatfields and McCoys even stopped fighting each other. You know, like there's things that will band enemies together. I'm sure if y'all figure it out, y'all get together, y'all can figure it out and find out a way that y'all can work together and possibly make even more money. Just make the sport better. Bring it back to what it used to be. But to me, promoters are too busy crafting fighters' careers instead of, you know, helping them build a legacy. Stop being afraid of a loss or looking bad in a win. Like if your fighter can fight, let him fight. Fight the biggest, the baddest, and the best. Prove who's the number one guy. And if that guy ain't it, hell, have your eyes and your hands and your hooks in the next guy. If you're a good enough promoter, you ain't got to worry about protecting your golden goose because you can find another one or make another one. This is what happens though when you get promoters who have taken over the sport. What up, Sloan? This is what happens when you get promoters that have taken over the sport. Their greed becomes they're led by their greed of money. The only way they can make money is if they're selling tickets and pay per views. The only way to sell tickets and pay per views is to have some hot shot fighter that's undefeated or that looks great. The only way to do that is make sure you craft his career to where he's fighting guys you feel like he can beat. That he's got to be exciting enough to sell the tickets, to sell the pay per views, or to get people to buy all of that stuff for you to make him a golden goose. So we shall see, man. I don't know. I hate what the sport has become, and I really don't like it, but it is what it is, and it ain't nothing really we could do about it because I mean, hey, what we gonna do? Ain't much we could do about it. We're gonna keep watching. But another thing is, it just is what it is, and we can't complain about it because that's the sport. That's why I got into UFC when I did long time ago because I saw boxing falling off so bad. I wanted another combat sport to like look into. So MMA stepped in, and it's been my saving grace ever since. And I'm not gonna lie, this week I do have a rant. This one's strictly for college football. So listen, let me take a sip of my drink. College football, I need you to get your shit together. Because here's the thing. You got the NIL deals where players are now asking coaches, how much am I gonna get paid? Instead of how am I gonna play? You got the calendar set up to where the Lane Kiffin Ole Miss LSU situation happened. Stuff like this is going to keep happening because coaches can move about and do what they do, right? Now, unless you set up your calendar for your recruiting, bowl games, playoffs, and all of that, to where this player, coach movement, transfer portal opening, and all of that can line up to mimic a better offseason schedule, you'll keep having shit like this happen. There's always going to be some coach at some school who's going to get lured away by another school. Who's going to have to force the buyout clause in the contract. Who's going to move to the next whatever, especially across the conference. And you're going to get all these players that's going to keep looking for like paychecks and stuff. Got to find some way to regulate it. The NIL stuff to me is the blood is on the NCAA's hands for not getting in there and letting it happen earlier, sooner, and regulating it once it did happen. They took their hands off, and now it's basically a free-for-all. As far as the coach movement and everything else is concerned, the schools and buyouts and all that kind of thing, y'all got to fix the calendar. If you fix the calendar and fix the transfer portal, you won't have to worry about this kind of stuff happening. So don't blame Lane Kiffin. Don't blame the players. Don't blame the boosters, the NIL collectives, none of that. This is strictly on you, NCAA. This is on y'all for not taking control of your sport like you used to have. You know, NCAA used to have a chokehold on their sport. They done got soft. And now, this is where we are. But anyway, man, that's this week's show. I didn't want to stay long because I am tired. And I got to go pick my baby up. So, for my brother Keys, for everybody on the network, all that good stuff, you know where to find us, you know where to follow us, at Stu Steele Sports with the Z, at @D_Jermaine, at DXT. This is episode 102, presented by Dubby Energy. We'll holler at y'all next week.